Hey guys, welcome into DC On Screen. Dave here. Before we transition over into the Wonder Woman review Jason and I recorded earlier tonight, I'd like to make note of a couple of things. One, Jason and I experienced some technical difficulties, so there's an echo that's not normally present in our episodes. So please bear with us on that. And also, at some point, we get a little mixed up and cite one character's action as questionable and ultimately detrimental to the film. Later in the episode, we realize our mistake and kind of make fun of ourselves about it, as we do. So that is about it. Thanks for listening. Enjoy this episode of DC On Screen. Welcome into DC On Screen. Oh my gosh, we have seen Wonder Woman, guys. This is episode 401, by the way. And welcome into any people who might be tuning in for the first time. I'm David C. Robertson. This is my co-host, Jason Goss.
Hello.
And, as we normally are at these types of reviews, we're sitting in the same room together, and it's kind of weird. I'm not used to seeing Jason's face.
I just kind of imagine you in like a clown suit on the other end of the recording.
To be clear, we did live together for years and had these kinds of conversations all the time, face to face.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, I don't know. I'm a little bit paranoid. Like I'll be saying something, and I'm like, he's just looking at me, and I'm like, what's he trying to tell me? What am I doing wrong? I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. Did I say something? I don't.
When you lived here, you used to me like staring off in the distance with a cigarette smoke across my face.
Yeah. So I don't know. What we're gonna do is we're gonna do a quick spoiler-free review, and then we'll get into spoiler territory, and we'll give you guys a big fair warning when that happens. Mm-hmm. But you want to start us out?
Yeah. It's going to be called a crowd pleaser.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to be pretty pleased with the rest of the crowd. Like I didn't want to see what Rotten Tomatoes thought of it, because we've just had so many disagreements with Rotten Tomatoes, over the years now. And so I didn't want to look at that and either go in thinking, they rated it well, it might be terrible, or they rated it badly. Historically, that means I'm going to like it. I just didn't want to have any thoughts in my head about it. But like, I watched it, I had a wonderful time. It's a great start to like a character who's her time to be on screen has been too long coming. And then I looked at Rotten Tomatoes, like 93%. And I'm like, yeah, I feel that. That's actually about what I'm feeling right now. It's the first time me and RT have agreed on something.
Yeah.
But we unfortunately have a disagreement here.
Well, I mean, I feel like if we were going by a Rotten Tomatoes score, I would put it around 75%. What Man of Steel was back in the day before it continued to drop. I don't understand that.
Somehow, I don't understand how these...
I felt about this movie a little better than I did Man of Steel.
Yeah. I think there was definitely less continuity problem.
Yeah.
It's a tighter story. Probably than any of the films so far.
Yeah.
I would wager.
There's one dangling thread, and I'll talk about that in the spoiler section, that bothered me. I think Gal Gadot did a great job.
Oh, wonderful.
Her acting was completely on point. Chris Pine did a fantastic job.
Yeah. And the chemistry between them is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
They especially the jabbering over each other. It was entertaining. Like I had a good time watching. It was actually almost a fun game to try to figure out what both of them were saying at once. Like trying to listen with one ear.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because when they're yelling at each other, there are these great scenes where they're just yelling at each other.
Yeah.
And it felt like a Robert Altman movie to me.
Yeah.
It was pretty great. I really enjoyed that chemistry between them.
Like someone basically gave them. It's like someone gave them the basic dialogue and said, "Don't bother waiting for anyone to end their line. Everyone step on each other as much as possible."
Right. Oh, I'll tell you something that was a disappointment to me, though. And I thought I was going to have the opposite problem based on the trailers. Not enough Lucy Davis. Not enough Etta Candy.
No, she was charming.
She was
absolutely
great.
Charming.
She was great. I wanted to see more of her. Not even the lines in the trailers that I was
even in our
so
spoiler free review, I can give this one line because it's mentioned. Maybe I shouldn't. But still, when she puts on we've seen her in the pair of glasses.
Yeah.
Right. And it's maybe one of my favorite lines out of the film was Edda's over there joking like, oh yeah, just throw a pair of glasses on her and she won't be the most beautiful woman in the world.
Yeah. So Lucy Davis, always a pleasure to see her.
Yeah.
And
all of the jokes you saw in the trailers, they're just as good, and she's got twice as many at least in there to stick it down. Also, a couple moments out of her that you didn't expect.
Yeah.
But that's all I can say about her actually without getting spoilery.
I didn't have a problem with any of the actors.
I don't think anyone did a bad job or anything.
No, I don't even think I had a problem with the directing.
No. Patty Jenkins, I think, knocked it out of the park on the actual the cinematography was just fantastic. The film looked great, and this is something that I have to admit they got a little better with it with Suicide Squad, but it still was kind of a thing that people picked on. But this film had color.
It did.
It was gorgeous. I mean, it used the entire rainbow, and it used it at the right times, and it was thematically colored and kind of beautiful.
Oh yeah, and the scene that we've all seen in the trailers, where she in the middle of no man's land, she climbs up in the middle of no man's land and just goes to work. And she's in this brightly colored outfit amidst all of this drab gray and everything. I mean, that was a statement. I've heard people, some of whom have guest hosted on the show, who complained of that drab color. Was like, it's just more DCEU. And I'm like, no.
I mean, different. when you watch this thing outright, you can see the shades of her hair. You can see the costume coming out, and it's pointful and it's there. All of the colors are telling you a story a little bit. And it's the first time we've gotten to say this about this universe.
Well, I mean, I think
Suicide Squad had color. Don't get me wrong.
So did BVS. So did Man of Steel. To be fair, and they did little things that they were trying to push home. I felt
there was some storytelling in the colors there, absolutely,
but
some visual storytelling. But one of the Man of Steel BVS problems that's legitimate is the filtering. The coloring.
I won't get too into that. We have we have reviews for those, and
well, I'm only mentioning it again to juxtapose this.
Absolutely, but I'm only stopping you because we actually just got an iTunes review that slammed us for that. They were like, oh yeah, they're great, except they have this weird hang up about color corrections. I'll read it on the DCEU or whatever, but huge news episode.
It's a huge thing in the movie.
It is. It's, I feel like that because we haven't really talked about that in a really long time. I feel like that person just totally went back and just went and listened to some of our really old stuff.
Caught up on the movie reviews or something.
Yeah. I mean, that was episode 2 and 6.
Yeah, it was early.
And this is episode 401. Even we got tired of it, bud. We just...
It got off the table for a while.
But yeah, I like the cinematography here. I liked most everything, I think, but the story kind of bored me.
Yeah.
I think it lagged in
I
places.
wasn't bored. I was genuinely involved with it, but it's not that I couldn't see it. It's just that I outright disagree, and that's emotional. I was involved and was caring from scene to scene what happened. I think there was some pacing where sometimes I kind of took a sigh and went, well, I mean, I like what's happening here, but the scene could move along a little faster. But I'm not even counting that as a real problem because it was nice to slow it down. There's kind of action, slow down, action, slow down, action, slow down. So it's a good back and forth for me.
Yeah, I hear you. I think
the action always got there in time to save me from boredom. That's how I'll put it.
Now, I mean, to be fair, I don't want to, I don't think this is the case, but I was spoiled on this movie several months ago. I knew everything.
No, Dave,
or a fair amount of it.
Dave, because he puts together our DCEU movie news, unfortunately has essentially martyred himself for the cause of that. So, in gathering news, he knows stuff that, if you see this movie, you're going to be surprised. He knew about it 4, 6, 8 months ago because he was trying to get news together.
Yeah.
That's why we see all the time on the news episodes, like, all right, we didn't include this because blah blah blah, but here's the part we can tell you.
Right, and
it's fair to tell you.
But that may have been. I didn't know like every single plot point, but I had my suspicions about certain things, and then I flat out knew a fair amount of the end game. Even though I was kind of surprised about a couple of things, and I was pleased by that. But
I'd say you start with that one. We go spoiler full.
Yeah. So was there anything else? Oh, you know what? You know what I want to say? What I want to talk about before we get into spoiler-filled stuff?
What's that?
They actively said, like I read numerous articles where they said that that badass Wonder Woman theme that was in BVS was not going to be in this movie because it wasn't about her being that character yet. Like she hadn't earned that or whatever.
Yeah.
And actually, then like it's all over the place in the movie, and that was weird.
Let me use that to segue into the spoiler full if you're
all right. So if you haven't seen this, I don't know why you would listen anyway. But
well, you might listen up to this point.
But look, go see it. I don't think it's a bad movie. I don't think it's part of it, and I guess I'll leave this. I'll put this into. I have a problem with prequels anyway. Because,
the origin story situation?
Yeah. Like, I'm just always kind of bored by prequels. And, I don't know. I just wasn't as into it as I should have been. And I was spoiled, so maybe that had something to do with it. And,
I think to that extent, if they have a straight up Wonder Woman 2, you're probably going to like that a lot more. Because it'll be set in the present. They're not going to
most
do
likely. But
Wonder Woman during World War II.
But then Patty Jenkins has said that she's really interested in what happened in between World War I and, BVS.
I don't think they'll go there.
I think, and you will probably never hear me say this again. Mm-hmm. I beg of thee, Patty, look to X-Men Origins Wolverine.
See where that got you.
No, the opening of that movie with Logan and Victor throughout the ages was phenomenal.
Oh yeah, if the movie had stopped there, I would have went, this is the best short film of all time. Seriously.
Yeah.
It's just one shot of him growling at the end, you know?
Like, I almost wish here maybe they had done a contemporary storyline as well and just had flashbacks like Arrow or something.
Yeah.
Let's just see how it relates, how our past relates to what's going on in the present. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'll leave it there and we'll get into some spoiler territory. So if you guys have seen the movie, stick around. If you haven't, we're DC On Screen. You can find every episode at dconscreen.com. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook, DC On Screen, one word, also on Instagram. And we're proud members of the Giant Size Team Up Network, giantsizesteamup.com. A lot of great shows over there. And now we will transition over into the spoiler-filled territory. I don't know what else to say to you. You've been warned. Here we go. What's up, Jason?
All right, I'll segue into... There is a past-present aspect to it, and it's kind of one of my favorite things they did with the movie is the framing device of Wayne Enterprises and her conversation with Bruce Wayne.
I've been sitting on that for a while.
Like, how much you like that?
No, just knowing about it.
Just knowing about it?
Yeah.
Oh, you poor bastard. I'm sorry. That was a cool thing to see, but even if you hadn't seen it, or even if you knew about it, it's still objectively, I think, a great framing device for the film. To open and end with like her getting the original copy of that photo, and then ending with her thanks for bringing it back to me.
To some degree, I like the email, but I didn't really care for her voiceover. That was a thing I hated, and I hate voiceover. The only place that I wanted them to do it, and they didn't, was in the Dark Knight Returns animated film. So I wanted all of his monologue, this would be a good death.
Yeah.
But I don't like the voiceover too much. I thought it was all so scripted and so okay, who's she talking to? Is she talking to Bruce? Is she, I would have liked for that to have been the bookend for her to be talking to Bruce. And that's what she was saying to him?
Look, if they could arrange it, that would, for me, be a really powerful thing, is you learn that after she sends the email, if they were going to do a stinger, and they didn't on this one. So, by the way, sorry if you sat around waiting for a stinger. We told you. But, if there was a stinger, and it turned out that, like if the last thing was her talking to Bruce Wayne at his place and says, so that's my story. And then if all you had was him, like Ben Affleck sitting there with her saying, so now you know my story. And him just kind of telling her, all right, I've got one too. And then they cut. That would have, just those few seconds, I would have been like, oh, that's fantastic. Okay. And then it would have given you like another, like a framing device up on top of the other framing device for the, yeah, don't get me wrong. I would have loved that, but I didn't necessarily hate the voiceovers. They were poignant at least.
Somewhat, yeah.
They were part of the story without being like, what do I want to say? Obnoxious. I mean, it wasn't.
Yeah.
We don't have a Blade Runner situation here.
Yeah. I was thankful for that. I was a little worried that it was just going to be like, so I climbed the ladder.
Yeah.
into no man's land because I am not a man.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that it was very sparse. Very, part of the bookend effect was, I think, important to making that work. And, for the most part, it did. Mm-hmm. And, man, I gotta say, like, the film as a whole worked for me. It was very tight.
I'll tell you this. I was overwhelmingly pleased that they were not heavy-handed with feminism at all. Like,
not even a bit.
Not even a bit.
Actually,
like, it was just phenomenal.
It was feminism by omission, I'll call it.
Yeah.
Because, as my wife pointed out, she wasn't sexualized. She wasn't under-sexualized. Mm-hmm. They just, they showed Gal Gadot. She's a beautiful human being. You don't have to overdo this. You just show her.
Yeah.
And they did it though, where like, there's no point where you're thinking like, oh, that costume was definitely designed to, show off something. That happened 0 times during the film.
Yeah. And
then in particular, like when they actually do, like when Steve and her when they actually hook up, there's nothing. They lean in for a kiss, establishing shot, out. Mm-hmm. Like they didn't even, it's not like they did it and it's avoidant. It's just that they told you enough of the story that you know exactly what's going on. Yeah. And then they just moved on to more story.
I mean, I'm old school, man. I like that kind of thing. Like just,
that's how they used to do it back in the old films, man. You couldn't show this stuff. You just showed the idea that something was going to happen. You backed out.
You show a kiss, you cut the commercial, you come back, Kirk's zipping up a boot.
Yeah. And before that, like in the old black and whites, man, you couldn't show.
Oh wait, I just realized there's Captain Kirk here too.
Yeah, who would have thought? Yeah, you did say it cracked you up that like parts of the performance were just like, oh, so Captain Kirk is here too.
Yeah, oh, like not like Shatner, but there are like little mannerisms that Chris Pine does when he's playing Kirk, where he just nails Shatner. Not not bad
the
Shatner.
Powerful ones though, like the funny or the dramatic ones.
Both.
But both, okay.
Like he can do both.
He actually, I mean, and he's proved it in both franchises now. He actually can be both funny and dramatic. I mean, he did a great job with the drama,
but not melodramatic.
Yeah, he pulls short of Bill.
Right,
he pulls short of that.
Which traditionally in Star Trek, you only get out of Shatner if you just make him say the line over and over again until he's so tired he's phoning it in.
Yeah,
then he's actually really good.
Then he's pretty good at it.
Ask Nicholas Meyer about
hours
that.
And he's fine.
But I've seen Chris Pine do other work. If you haven't seen Horrible Bosses 2, go check him out. He could play the Joker. He did a really good job in that movie.
I haven't seen that one.
And he did a great job in Smoking Aces. I didn't even recognize him from when he came about later in a big way. And I was like, oh, that's that cat. What? Wait, really? But here he kind of had, it wasn't like huge, but it was a few shots where I was just like, whoa, that was a Kirk. Oh, like, when he's trussed up with the lasso of truth there and he's like trying to fight it and he's like doing like the weird like eye movements and stuff. I was like, oh, that's
yeah, I guess I could see that. I don't have him so much in mind that I caught it, but speaking of the sexualization, he got sexualized more than
he did. He totally did. He totally did.
Like that was, and I was laughing I was chuckling the whole conversation because it was hilariously awkward and like Bethany said, she did a great job of playing innocent.
Oh yeah,
like she's seeing a naked man for the first time and she's kind of like, it reminded me of like the way a dog hears a sound and like just tilts its head a little bit, like, oh, all right,
yeah.
And there were some. The movie was genuinely funny at parts.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Sure. Everything from the parts about him and the above average to the whole conversation in the boat about where to sleep. Hilarious. Everything that Etta Candy was involved in. Just funny.
So, as funny as it was, and, it was action-packed, a couple bits with the CGI looked a little, ugh. Like, just,
every now and then you'd see her do something, and you kind of think, it didn't get her quite right.
Yeah.
But she was the only one that had to CGI too much. But the funny part was it was only like her, exactly her. The things happening around her still looked good, but like every now you'd look at her and go, it's a little uncanny valley.
There's like this one shot on Themyscira. I think it was Hippolyta.
Hippolyta.
Is it Hippolyta?
Hippolyta. I'm sorry.
Hippolyta?
Yeah. Sorry.
I psyched myself out.
Yeah.
Like, I always have to, like, rehearse it in my head.
It's definitely Hippolyta.
Hippolyta.
Yeah.
I said it right earlier.
You've actually, like, you were saying it wrong, and then you got it right again, and then now you messed both of us up. But we're back. Hippolyta.
Hippolyta.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman's mama.
Mm-hmm.
She jumped off. Did this, like, it was either her or Antiope. I can't remember which one is which in certain shots.
Sure thing?
There's one where, like, I think they were, but she was like, did like this like spin off of a horse, and it looked awful.
A couple of spins off of horses looked a little weird, but for the most part, they looked great, and it was fantastic choreography.
Right out of the gate, the Earth looked terrible. Like,
I liked that take on the Earth.
Really?
I did, yeah, because it actually showed, spheres of the Earth, like stratospheres and other words for things that surround the stratosphere that I
was just like, they can't get some footage, some satellite footage or something?
I think it would ruin it, because it showed it as kind of layered, where like there's this outside realm, and then you have this series of moisture and clouds and stuff, and it goes in.
I don't know. I felt like I was watching a Tim Burton movie for just a second.
Why did you make a claymation Earth? Like,
yeah. That is what it looked like, a claymation Earth.
I liked the idea, though, it was more layered, that you went through the clouds. And like, normally when somebody zooms in from the clouds, it's like there's this layer of clouds and you just get right past it. And then for this one, I felt like you just got through layers. Because like when you're in a plane, for instance, you get above the cloud line, you're like, oh. Like for me, I'm like, oh, with a tinge of, I'm going to die. But it's not even a tinge. It's an overwhelming feeling of I'm going to die with a tiny, of wonderment. But I can like look at the clouds below, and then I'll look above and go like, oh, there's like a fuck off amount of clouds up there too. Like we're just in the middle of them.
Yeah.
This is Swiss cheese.
So I did not feel like Dr. Poison or Ludendorff were fleshed out like at all. Like, I don't know.
No, Dr. Poison has no origin.
No origin. And then him, like, one of the news
that
bits.
They used her for the like final, Wonder Woman decision.
Yeah.
I liked that she got
fine.
incorporated. And I even liked that Ares used one of his pawns specifically. Like, that was cool.
I was very interested in what she did to herself.
And
why she took up that line of work.
Yeah.
We got none of that.
Yeah.
Ludendorff, like, one of the bits of news, and if I knew completely, I would have talked about it last week. But one of the bits of news that we left out was him talking about how it was based on a real guy, and this General Ludendorff, like, he had a son down the front lines. He's very, hard man. He believed that war was necessary, that people needed to die, et cetera, et cetera.
There were good speeches in there
and they didn't really go into that.
Short of the son, the exposition he gives when he's fighting Wonder Woman actually covers a lot of that.
A little bit, yeah. But
I mean,
why is, like, because Poison has this line, something about restoring him to his former self or whatever, and I guess we're going to have to headcanon that as him just being younger, but him, like, cracking open the gas.
That's my best canon, though, is like
becoming
when he
super
was
strong.
A 22-year-old in perfect shape. Kind of like Tim Roth back in the
Incredible
Hulk. Yeah.
No, that's not a good precedent to set.
No,
that's something to follow.
But it's still, the idea is around. I wouldn't follow it as a movie, but the precedent though of like,
I feel like Ludendorff was there and they did that because they needed a red herring, because they felt like they needed a twist in the movie.
But the twist was good. The twist was genuinely good. I mean, to make it, I forget what the guy's name is, honestly.
Sir Patrick or whatever.
Sir something.
It was Sir Patrick something.
Sir White Mustache. To make it him.
No, he was gray mustache.
There
was a different white mustache.
There was a different
too.
Oh, there were several. It was a very mustachioed movie.
Mm-hmm.
But to make it him, I thought was a good twist.
Okay.
I feel you on Ludendorff not being completely fleshed out.
If Ludendorff had been Ares, I'd have been like, oh, we got his story though.
I mean, yes.
I would have been just as underwhelmed.
Well, you'd have been extremely underwhelmed because it wouldn't have made sense for her to go after him then, and like the way it would have worked then is like everything happens to that village. She decides to screw you, Steve. I'm going after him. Mm-hmm. Steve decides, you know what, my way didn't work. Let's trust you, and goes for it. If that's how that would have ended, I would have felt like there's something missing at the end of this. Like, if she killed him, and even if they shut down the plant at the same time.
Yeah, I kind of expected him to sort of be a separate, like another, like, I expected him to do the thing where, villains come back after they've died. But I didn't think he would be Ares, because I knew the big plot twist.
Yeah.
So I expected him to be something else with all of the gas thing, with him hulking out or whatever you want to call it.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, the even with the he's younger theory, the biggest hanging
him being
thread,
younger wouldn't make him as strong as Wonder Woman.
the biggest hanging thread to me isn't even the strength of it; it's the destroying the sword with the palm of his hand. Like,
none of that makes sense.
That part, I can't understand what happened. I'd like to know what was going on there. His former self it's probably the weakest point of the movie to me. Like, I don't think there's a lot of weakness to this movie. It was very tightly written. There's a lot of threads in it that all come together just fine. But he's one of the points where you're like, this needed a little more explanation.
Yeah, but after seeing him, I no longer believe the theory or the statement from Patty that there's not going to be an extended cut. I think there will be.
Yeah, no, I mean, she said there wouldn't be an extended cut, but
or deleted scenes.
Yeah, she also said no deleted scenes. That's the part that really worried me. I was like, that's getting to be a little unprecedented now, is no deleted scenes in a movie.
I think there's more. I think there's more laying around somewhere.
There probably is. I mean, like, for me, it's the equivalent of the original Avengers when Thor, for some reason, looks real proud of himself when he finally gets the hammer back. Mm-hmm. Like, there's something there. We have no idea. But it's again, it's like, it's a really good movie there with a hanging thread. Mm-hmm. I mean, even Joss Whedon is capable.
Sure.
And Patty Jenkins got pretty close with the story on this one. Actually, I say that it wasn't her story. It was a
Zack Snyder
story.
Gosh, who else? There was two other people.
Two other people listed, and I cannot remember their names. And I'm sorry, we just saw it a minute ago.
It was probably Jeff Johns.
It wasn't Jeff Johns.
Wasn't? Mm-mm. Okay. Well, I'll look it up.
Let's go for it.
I'd forgotten about him destroying this sword. That bothers me even more now.
No, that's really my main point of contention with the sword, is it being destroyed with him. But while you're looking that up, I'll mention, dude, the choreography was phenomenal. Mm-hmm. I mean, top notch, and the short of a couple of CGI little uncanny valley moments, just a couple. I mean, I'm saying 3 or 4% maybe of the entire thing, and I'm still maybe overpitching it as far as shot for shot. The CGI on this thing was fantastic in the action scene. I nearly stood up and started clapping when she just overturns the artillery vehicle. Mm-hmm. Just flips the damn thing a few feet.
Okay, it was story by Zack Snyder, Alan Heinberg, and Jason Fuchs.
Yeah.
And the screenplay was by Alan Heinberg.
Yeah, the only name I was even close to remembering was Jason Fuchs, and that's just because the J was standing out.
Oh, I thought it was because it was literally your name.
No, I didn't actually remember that it was literally my name. I was trying to get the last part, and it didn't work. But the action was, I thought, phenomenal.
Yeah, mostly, yeah.
And it made sense. That's something that's important to me. Like, it. When I say the choreography, I also mean that going from scene to scene, like Wonder Woman, pretty much taking down that village, it all made perfect sense. It wasn't like, how the hell is she over here now? They kind of showed her getting from place to place now. No big deal. And that you have the whole team following her. Which the team, I was pretty happy with the team. And I also enjoyed them arguing about the team. Like, oh, you have a liar, a smuggler, and a murderer, all that. But yeah, that was my favorite part of the action. It all made sense.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe my favorite quick shot of the movie is like when she's finally, like, she takes over no man's land and she gets pinned down by just machine gun fire. And at this point, she's inspired the rest of I guess it were they British soldiers in this one, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's inspired the rest of the team, so they start popping to her aid and give her a little bit of a gap, and then it's over.
Yeah.
It was inspiring.
It was fun.
I enjoyed that. And I did like the fact that the action was kind of spaced out. You have like a Themyscira battle, No Man's Land battle, and then kind of a, battle with Ares showdown thing.
Yeah, it wound up feeling in a lot of in some ways, a little too save the cat for me. I just got a little bogged down. Bethany went to sleep around London, and that's where I kind of got real. Except for Etta Candy, I liked her, but in the
film they said about London, it's not for everybody.
That's true.
Maybe that was.
That's true.
Maybe that was them mentioning like this may be.
Here's the thing that
you have
bothered
to sit
me.
through this part.
Here's the thing that bothered me. All right, he Steve Trevor steals the notebook, takes it back to headquarters. Then Dr. Poison because she failed. She had failed up that point to make the gas mask dissolve. Then after he takes the notebook with all of her stuff, she figures it out, right? It's like, oh, I need to do this. This is what this means. I do this. But he goes back and shows his superiors the book, and he's like, if they did this, the gas masks would go away. It wouldn't be effective.
Yeah. Well, to me though, that was. I actually have notebooks that work this way, where like if you found some of my notebooks, you'd be like, it's about like from college specifically is what I'm talking about. You'd be like, well, he didn't figure out how to do that particular assignment. And then if you found a scrap piece of paper somewhere else, you'd be like, I could look at it and go, oh yeah, but it might be a crumpled up sheet of paper. I'm like, oh, that's how I'm going to write that.
So you think she figured out how to do it and then forgot that she knew how to do it?
I don't think she forgot, which by the way wouldn't be unprecedented. For God's sake,
it's not.
The things Isaac Newton forgot and couldn't find paperwork for are just hilarious. It's one of those there
have been at least 3 times in this episode of DC on Screen I've forgotten who you are.
It's common.
I'm kidding, but
happens less when we're staring at each other. But for me, that didn't strike me as weird. That
sometimes
she can have a notebook full of ideas and her diary of where she's going with it, but then look at an old piece of paper and have a moment of insight and go, oh crap, I was really onto it right there. That's how I should have done it. And to me, that makes a lot of sense because I'm thinking back to college where you go write, 3 pages worth of crap and find some little note about an outline somewhere and go, shit, and just delete the entire document, start over, and it's a better essay or a better assignment or whatever.
I mean, I know the trick. Headcanon it.
That's what it was to me. I'm not even headcanoning like that. That felt so familiar that I don't even feel like I'm filling in spaces. And it's those moments of insight are so important that I just don't. That doesn't even feel weird to me.
All right. Well, what else you got?
I'm getting close to being done here, but Chris Pine, his death scene, well done. Both his conversation with Wonder Woman and that series of expressions he goes through when he's about to pull the trigger. That was really felt for him.
I got a little teary.
Yeah.
Was it okay? I have a question because I was really holding back pee. At this point,
I didn't drink water for 2 days just to make sure.
I had a vitamin water with me.
I'm only half blind. At 4:00 this afternoon, and we saw it at 7. I started to get a glass of water and went, nope.
Yeah. She sees that he dies. She sees the plane blow. She then has a flashback, correct? Did we see that flashback when it happened the first time?
Yeah.
Did we not hear the dialogue?
She was in shell shock, so she couldn't completely hear the dialogue. When we went back to it...
Because it looked familiar, but I didn't remember any of the dialogue.
No, it was literally...
Okay.
But it was like... And... To me,
I was in shell shock trying to hold
when
my business.
We went back, it ended up being just one of those cinematic foils where we saw the same scene twice.
Yeah.
And her dialogue was there the entire. She was still recovering from.
Yeah, I figured something like that had happened.
But it was just a film trick. There was nothing story oriented that happened there. It was just that she had actually understood what he was saying, but to us they kind of left us out of it for a second for effect. Which gave me a lot of joy because I was really hoping I wasn't going to have to hit the internet in a couple days and wait for the lip readers to tell me what he had said on his way out, When they went back to it, I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah. I I am somewhat annoyed that they left her powers ambiguous.
Yeah, I wasn't a little worried about whether she could fly. Apparently she kind of flipped. Like, she was definitely kind of like in the air for too long on a couple of occasions.
Yeah, but it seemed she was floating downward.
But then even at the end of the film, they leave it ambiguous about, you know, she makes the big jump, but she's kind of...
Mm-hmm.
It was a great ending to a great Wonder Woman film, but it still felt like a Superman-y kind of pose, like the fist forward kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
One arm akimbo, one out, you know.
Kimbo.
But yeah, like I'm pretty confused. I think they're almost like seeding the idea that she's going to be able to fly later. Like it's something that, and Ares did tell her like you have no idea what you're capable of on a couple of occasions, and obviously he can do things that she doesn't know, and then she tells him like goodbye, brother. Like she's obviously going to be able to unlock the full comic book potential at some point.
Hopefully,
I don't think they're going to deflight her for the DCEU when it comes down to it.
Okay,
I think they've just been kind of playing with it.
Yeah.
We might even get it as early as Justice League. Who knows? Because they have been toying with it a lot.
Yeah. Who knows? I just kind of wish they'd been a little more...
Well, they couldn't make her fly now because in BVS she's just kind of...
I guess so, yeah.
You call it Incredible Hulking around? Or...
Yeah, she's just like leaping around like Hulk. I guess Golden Age Supermaning.
Yeah.
Leaping tall shit in a single bound.
Yeah. The whole flight idea wasn't... original, so it just seems like they're toying with it. But I guess they couldn't give us it. They couldn't give it all. And in a way, it's a good tease because they couldn't give the whole thing to us now. But the idea that she's kind of gliding a little bit every now and then, we're asking ourselves this question right now.
Yeah, I'm okay.
It's a good tease.
You know.
You do eventually want to know the answer, though.
I do eventually want to know the answer, and I mean, I felt that way about
from a filmmaker.
But I felt that way about Ludendorff too, and I'm like, at a certain point, I was like, we're not going to get that answer, are we?
No, that dude's dead. Apparently, not bleeding on a roof.
Yeah, he should have been bleeding.
Should have been bleeding. That sword should have been dripping, just gushing with blood.
Yeah,
but that's what you get with a PG-13.
Yeah. I'm not saying I hated it. I just had more problems with it than I would have preferred, and I was a little more bored by it, which I might be just tuckering out on the format. Kind of wishing. That's one of the things I loved about Guardians 2, and
it's hard to go from Guardians 2 with some of the rugs it pulls out from under you to go to like something with a more familiar format.
Well, I mean, Logan did this, a similar thing where it was just, they didn't, go to the old formula.
Yeah.
And I was happy with that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like comic book movies don't have to adhere to a singular formula.
Not at all. But I do think Warner Brothers has, to some extent, tried to play around with formulas a little bit and has gotten their face kicked in critically.
Mm-hmm.
Not financially. They're still doing fine. Like a lot of the fans are still perfectly happy. A lot of the fans are almost like bordering on riotous. But I do think it was important for the WWE at this point to put out a movie that was just a straightforward, objectively palatable. That's the word I want.
Palatable.
Thank you.
It was palpably palatable.
Palpably palatable. But
it's hard to say.
I really think it was good. It was good for the franchise at this point to put out a movie that was just straightforward and easy to connect with, and just plain kind of good. I mean, it's hard to argue with the film being a pretty damn good film, even if you weren't taken away by it. And there are a lot of people, like I listened to somebody leaving the theater today that I'm going to paraphrase him, but it was, oh man, I'm so looking forward to Justice League now. Like, this proves that DC can actually make a good movie. And I kind of thought, come on, man.
Wait, Ludendorff didn't disintegrate that sword.
Oh, it was Ares.
It was Ares.
Shit, it was Ares.
Oh man, that makes me feel so much better.
It does too. Yeah. Sorry for the lapse, guys. Several of you have probably been sitting around blaming us the entire time for not getting that right. But thank Dave for remembering.
I was like, wait a minute. I was sitting there thinking, you're talking, and my mind drifted. I was like, wait, if that sword was through him, how did he make it disintegrate?
How did it get there? Yeah.
I was like, why did he know that she was the god kid? Oh, that wasn't him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes way more sense. It still leaves your hanging threads, but it doesn't up the ante.
Yeah.
And thanks for the catch.
Yeah.
Thanks for saving our asses there. At least yours. I'm still hanging on to it.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm sure somebody, I might actually just record I might record a thing at the beginning to put at the beginning of the episode to just be like, hey, so I said a thing and it was not true and we caught ourselves.
No, just let the listener go through the journey with us.
But I don't want them to turn it off when they get angry and turn it off.
Is we're all listening to this like with short memory, working memory recall. Like no one's gotten to watch this movie a few times yet. There are going to be a few people that just now were like, "Yeah, you're right," and then when we went back, "Ah, shit, you're right too." Damn it, and like went through that with us because that's how memory works. There's also going to be a group of people just sitting there going like, "Oh, guys, that's totally wrong," and then like begrudgingly like, "All right, well,
they'll turn it off." They'll angrily turn it off. Like, no, you Marvel fans or something. He brought up Guardians.
It happens every episode we do. Somebody angrily turns off the thing.
That's true.
You can't fight that. I mean, hopefully the number's minimal. That's all I hope for any given time. Is the number's minimal.
Yeah.
just want a nominal amount of people to, figuratively stand up and walk out on our auditorium.
Yeah. So anyway, if I'm missing some stuff, sorry. If I don't like it for good reasons, sorry. I mean,
I'm perfectly with the mainstream on this one. I had a great time. I'd watch it again right now. I mean,
it's gonna have to be like a year
at
least.
I really
for me.
enjoyed it. Like it was super entertaining. I liked the story. There's some subtlety to how the characters are played, and there's a complete lack of subtlety with the action that was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And not like Tarantino-ish weirdness, just action that made sense. I was pretty happy walking away from this one.
I was so disappointed when Tarantino started doing that. I was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
He made 2 perfectly good movies, and now...
what are we doing here? But yeah, I was very happy. But, we've still got a news episode coming up. Plenty of time to write in or call in or however many formats we have at this point to contact and explain to either me or Dave why we're wrong.
I don't have the phone number in front of me, but it is listed in the show notes.
259-6331.
Is that what? 205?
Voicemail thing?
Yeah.
205-259-6331.
Ooh, listen to Jason.
You can do numbers better than I can plots. Watch, I'm going to be wrong about that too.
Yeah. And look.
At least call that one, see what happens.
Yeah, see what happens.
Maybe you'll just like bring some joy to somebody's day because you left them a weird voicemail with some questions.
Right.
Maybe you'll just meet a new person you like.
Yeah, I liked all the Themyscira stuff. London was a bit boring for me. And then it just became a little too save the cat. I think those are my issues, my primary issues.
Fair enough.
I liked her. Still like her.
Those aren't
Happy
like
that she knocked it out of
egregious
the park.
issues. It's just kind of like, there were a couple parts I wasn't really behind, and
Yeah, it was a prequel. It was kind of like,
Yeah.
But I don't know. It didn't get me jacked for Justice League like I wanted it to. You know what I mean?
I'm still just as jacked. It didn't jack me more. Like I was 90% ready for Justice League, and I'm still 90% ready for Justice League.
Like I don't know about you, but I
on
get to a
jack
certain
scale,
point.
which whatever.
I get to a certain point, and then I'm just like, you have to do something special to get me more jacked.
Yeah.
And I'll just start de-jacking, where I just become, for lack of a better term, limp for it.
Yeah.
You just have to keep edging me to get to the
We call
Justice
that
League.
flaccidity regression.
You got to keep bringing me something
Yeah.
without, screwing up the plot and be like, hey, look at this.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. It was fine.
That's called the BVS trailer 2 mistake, right? Where you show too much to try to jack it up. That's my favorite example. At least,
look, by the time we got to, because of my martyrdom for the show, I already knew about Doomsday before the trailer.
Yeah.
I did,
I mean, it pissed me off when I saw
I knew
it.
she was going to, lop off his hand.
Yeah.
I knew all that shit.
I even knew about the lop off his hand because
But see, me being spoiled on BBS didn't bother me for that movie. I liked that. Yeah. So that's why I kind of go like, maybe it's not the spoilers.
Yeah, there were still there were so many twists and turns in BBS, for better or worse, that the spoilers there were kind of not negligible, but manageable.
Yeah,
I guess.
The biggest
Whereas here
twist...
the story is so straightforward that I could see like if the spoiler for the spoilers here, it is such a and straightforward is fortunately in this case a synonym for tight. It was a very straightforward, tight story. If it has faults as far as the story, it's that it didn't take a ton of chances.
Yeah.
And that's something, though, that I do. I think the DC universe right now has to earn that right to take those chances. Like, I think we can have a Guardians of the Galaxy type film. Like, Suicide Squad 2 can maybe get to that point. But I do think that at this point in the public view, they had to prove they could do this before everyone was going to accept them being out on a limb.
Yeah.
Right now, they were just hanging on a limb and falling down.
To me, I somewhat feel like they didn't completely prove that just because of Dr. Poison's lack of... I mean, they did Marvel. They didn't feel like a Marvel movie, but their villains had Marvel villain background, essentially. Like,
the sub-villains, I'll call them, did have that problem where it's like, I didn't flesh him out, I didn't get behind it. But when it gets to Ares, like, he has so much exposition in his
But my problem with Ares, though, as far as the exposition is we didn't actually even... Because they wanted to preserve that twist, we got like, oh, here's what happened to Ares in like animated flashback. But we didn't get any of like his actual emotional standing. Like we didn't really feel that he was angry with Zeus. We didn't really get any of that. Where like
it was almost philosophical. I mean, you do get one shot of him once he's fallen.
You know, I mean, these are ancient gods. I mean, if we're,
But to get into like a whole Ares story, there would have been a lot there that I wouldn't have been happy with. And they do a lot of stuff like while he's holding the lasso, when he shows her what he's all about, like we can undo what my father did. I think they did spend several good minutes showing what he's about. And then when he's, giving her the ultimatum of you'll either join me or I'll destroy you and stuff like that.
I was glad I got that. But,
I thought it was kind of enough.
I would have given up the twist.
And they did make him a scary enough character by the end that I was like, okay, I like this guy. This is a decent villain.
I mean, it's one of those things where, like,
he's a decent villain. Though, is when he pulls in all the metal to make the armor and, like, does the thing where his eyes already melts it.
That was badass. Absolutely, that was badass.
I was like, okay.
That was badass.
This is an intimidating dude.
When he's like throwing all the shards of metal and stuff, I was like, that's friggin' injustice. Yeah. But I could have, if we're talking in hypotheticals, I could have done away with the twist, have her kill Ludendorff just because he's a dick, and he killed a whole village. Like him killing that village, she didn't have to. He didn't have to be Ares.
That's enough for her to kill him.
And we could have done away with like the weird exposition, like take away some of that stuff where he's like huffing gas and becoming strong, and maybe talk about his kid, or maybe talk about Dr. Poison and what brought her to this state. And then I could have done with a bit of exposition. Make it 10 minutes longer. I don't care. Make it a little bit longer and let me know. Actually, or even when he's talking to her, just go back and show Diana like the I can't even think of words now. The relationship between Zeus and Ares, and why it hurt him so much, and why he felt that he had to like. I feel like we've just been watching Ares' story on Lucifer. No, I have to show you, Father, that these people are not as good as you think.
There was a little bit of that, but I think for what they showed us, the story hangs together just fine. Because they gave me enough exposition easily to make that work for me.
It works for me, but it didn't make me like feel anything for Ares. Like I didn't give a crap about Ares.
No, the most I felt about Ares is those last few moments, like after. This was maybe the most powerful thing watching it was the climax where she doesn't kill Poison, and then she has the nice moment where she pretty much chooses love as her primary motivating factor here.
Yeah,
and
that was fun.
What I liked though was like she's not flying at him, she's not running at him, she's not panicking. It's not a panicked form of fight for her. She just like walks at him, and he throws everything she's got at her, and she just.
Yeah,
calmly blows it away. Like
had no problem with that.
That was just
That was
Good
fine.
fight scene.
That was great.
Climax, like
Yeah.
great show off of power. Like even when she kind of smirks when she's got his power in her. Maybe it's the bracelets, maybe it's her, but she's got his power for a second. She's kind of smirking at it like, oh, you poor bastard.
Mm-hmm. And we, if I wanted to be, if I wanted to, I could, go the MCU route and be like, whoa, Tony was his own worst enemy. That's why all right, her naivete was her own worst enemy. Whatever. I just, I think they could have done a little more with the villains.
It wasn't even naivety. I think naivety saves her in the end because she sees eventually what they're capable of, and she makes finally the.
Well, she's no longer naive then. She just chooses the bright side of the road.
But the naivety,
chooses,
in that sense, like lets her see everything before she makes the choice. When she has the tank, now because she was naive, like she didn't have jaded information.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
So, to that extent, I loved her innocence.
Or she fought past the naivete,
Nah.
and then she saw. She overcame that villain.
I don't think anyone fights past naivety while they're holding a tank in the air.
That's how I did
That's just a sentence you won't hear again for the rest of your life.
Anyway, I think that's it. I mean, the music was great.
Music was good.
Music was
Good
great.
to hear the theme.
Good to hear the thing. I was happy with that. Yeah. They actually had that. I was happy with most of it. I'll watch it again.
Yeah.
I'll, like I say, nobody freak out. I'm buying the Blu-ray. It'll be on my shelf right next to
I'm not going back
Suicide
to the
Squad.
theater, but that's more of a financial concern.
I might go back to the theater. I don't know. I wanted to like it a lot more than I did, honestly. I was pretty bummed that I didn't like it as much as I thought.
You want to get out,
or
prompt
hoped.
and everything?
Yeah, I really wanted to be like, yeah, and I just wasn't. But, it happens.
I've been sick for a few days. I don't think I had in me, but I mentally I was very happy. Like if there had been like a round of clapping at the end,
Which there wasn't.
There wasn't. I heard a lot of people walking back because me and Christian were at the bottom aisle because she's hobbled. She's incapacitated. So we were at the bottom seats, and as people were walking out, we kind of hung out for a second to let her bed clear so she could get into her little scooter and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But as people are walking out, I'm hearing hugely positive comments from the passersby, just generic "Oh fuck, that was great," it kind of stuff. Well, it wasn't exactly a standing O, I guess, but everybody was pretty pumped about it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was I don't know how to describe that.
Yeah.
But it's I don't know how many. I don't know if I've ever seen a movie where there was a standing ovation in an actual theater.
Oh, I have.
Have you?
Dark Knight.
Oh, I didn't get a standing O. I saw clapping. It definitely got clapping, but not standing O.
Oh, man, the theater I was in, Dark Knight, people were freaking out. That and X-Men 2.
That's kind of weird.
Because everyone thought that Dark Phoenix was coming. Because they did the fiery silhouette of the Phoenix in the Alkaline Lake or whatever, and everyone was like, yeah! Everyone just stood up and just started freaking out. And I was just like, I thought it was kind of boring, but all right.
No, in Dark Knight, what I was privy to and part of was a round of clapping and then a standing leave. That was really it. All of us very appreciative of the film, but
yeah, sure. I think the last thing I'll say is I don't think they hit their mark on trying to hit Superman with Chris Reeve or Batman Begins, because it didn't feel tonally like either one of those movies at all. For the cinematography, it just didn't feel like either of those at all for me. Not to say that what it wasn't bad or it wasn't good. I cinematography was gorgeous. I didn't feel those two things.
I wasn't paying attention at all to whether there was supposed to be mimicry involved, but
I mean, I guess in the alley when she stops the bullet, that's very Chris Reeve Superman.
Yeah, there might be some shots I could go back and maybe look at, but it wasn't on my mind at all. I don't have any recollection to compare or contrast with it.
I didn't feel it tonally. I didn't feel it in a cinema. It was just his own thing.
There are moments where Christopher Reeve's kind of goofiness I could see. There are moments of silliness that made sense for it.
At no point in this movie could I imagine a tuba.
No, but that may be for the better. That may be for the better.
Oh man,
that might be what you call a good move by Patty Jenkins.
Oh yeah, I'm not complaining. I was worried about those reports. Like, I don't want to feel like either of those movies. Like, I like Christopher Reeve just fine. I like those Superman movies for what they were, but, I mean, can we move past that?
They're in the past, and they should stay there.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I would have told Bryan Singer.
Yeah. The Smithsonian is there for certain purposes.
All right, so I think that's going to do it. I think I'm good. We are DC On Screen. Thank you guys for listening. You can find every episode at dconscreen.com. Let us know what you thought about the movie. And yell at us if you want to. I don't know. Or me specifically. Jason was,
You can yell at me for
happy
liking
with
it. If you want to.
I mean, if you want to. I don't know why you would, but
we're just here to respond to.
You just enjoyed a thing more than I did. I mean, I'm the loser here.
This is every episode of Legends we've ever covered.
He's the winner. I'm the loser. This is what happens. No, Legends wore you down though, because even by the end, you were just like, ugh.
Yeah, no, Legends. The only reason I enjoyed it more than you is because I just expected nothing of it. So when they gave me 2 minutes of good material, I was like, oh, great. And
they put all the cool things that I hoped for in Legends into the Flash for like an entire season. Just
flopped it. Yeah.
Anyway. So, you can talk to us on Twitter and Facebook, DC On Screen, Instagram, DC On Screen. Proud members of the Giant Size Team Up Network, GiantSizeTeamUp.com. And we're going to be coming back with reviews for Gotham. We're going to come back with season finale review of Lucifer. And then a couple days after that, DC TV and DCEU news. And, we hope you join us for all of that. And again, call that number that Jason remembered.
Hopefully.
It'll be in the show notes. And until next time, keep some DC on your screen.